Welcome to the Screen the Screener College Basketball Podcast with your hosts, Mike Randall and Gus Kearns.
Welcome in, listeners, to the Screen the Screener College Basketball Podcast, where we're always talking everything college hoops. You could have been anywhere else on the dial, but you chose to be here with us, Mike and Gus, and we appreciate that. Mike, just want to say welcome back to the listeners. Thank you for hanging with us. We're also trying to navigate the tough situations that are upon us right now. Mike, how are you doing over there? You doing okay? Is everything okay in Mike Randall world?
Yeah, we're hanging in there. We're doing okay. Got fantasy football coming up, doing a lot of that. We're putting our videos out in the YouTube channel. So trying to distract from the malaise that is life, right? I mean, what's better than that?
There is a little bit of malaise, and there is a lot of life. I'm with you on both of those things. All right, let's just jump right into things, Mike. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Let's go to Baylor-Gonzaga. They decided that they are going to attempt to play each other's college hoop season. This is exactly what every college basketball fan would love to hear from and love to look forward to and attach to. Is this a realistic thing? Do we like the coaches taking the front end here? There's a lot of different directions we can go here. We're going to go with Gonzaga and Baylor.
Two great coaches, both underrated in their own right. Scott Drew never gets the respect he deserves, and he won't until he gets to a Final Four, wins a title, something like that. Mark Few, one of the all-time greats, has passed up on multiple fantastic jobs to stay at Gonzaga and build a powerhouse. So great job by them. Baylor with a bunch of players returning. Gonzaga is going to have to deal with no Petrusev, but all over, this is a great battle. It's two great teams playing each other. Nothing better than that. Contrast of styles, too. Gonzaga going to want to get up and down the floor. Baylor going to throw the zone at them with the length. Going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think if the matchup does happen, I think the matchup is totally fascinating. And also, if you're looking at the next college basketball season, where we're looking at the top 3 or 4 teams, these are definitely the top 2. And then the reason that this exists in the schedule is because of the Pac-12 taking sports off until 2021, resulting in a cutting off of the part of the conference season and then, most of the non-conference hoop season. Mike, are they trying to outsmart the Ivy League, or is the Pac-12 and the Ivy League kind of onto something here, saying we're not going to play until the new year? That's something that we need to pay attention to for college hoops. Where are you at with that?
The biggest mistake that our leaders have made across the board, whether you want to look the local, national, whatever level, is they're not making decisions. The problem is they're waiting for more data, and they're stalling. It is obvious after all the technology and all the medical devices that we have that this thing has started to slow down, but we still don't have a handle on it. And quite frankly, Gus, I don't think we'll have a complete handle on it until we go through a winter season when flu is around. I don't want to get too medical here on the Screen the Screener podcast. Mike Randall is not a doctor and doesn't play one on TV, but I think we have to go through the winter months with this here. Obviously, it's gotten better. We've been able to get outside a little bit more, but it's still possible to be transmitted across the board. So I like what they're doing. I think it's smart. I think we're going to have college basketball this year. There is no doubt in my mind it's going to happen. They're talking about now looking at pods, maybe in Orlando or Disney, similar to what the NBA did. And clearly that's worked as long as you have the tests. I mean, it's worked. We haven't had a lot of players who've gotten positive tests from COVID. So it can work, but I like it. I think it's smart. And yet again, the Ivy League is the trendsetter. Smart people at that conference, right?
Yeah, right. And I think the smart people are there in the Pac-12 as well. Mike, I guess my follow-up question with this is, do you feel like that the Pac-12 or the Ivy League is going to lose out on any game opportunity, for lack of a better term, because other conferences are looking at a possible Thanksgiving into the holiday season, into the new year type situation where they could get games done, maybe it be in conference or out of conference? Do you feel like that those leagues are losing out on an opportunity, or do you think that maybe they just know something that maybe they're anticipating something that maybe the rest of us can't anticipate?
No, I think they're going through what the schools are going through right now, which is once we get back, if schools actually attempt to play in the Thanksgiving area and it goes well, then these conferences will figure a way to get games in. Once they observe that everyone else is doing very, very well, they're not going to just sit idly by and say, nah, we made a decision. You can adjust. So just like the schools are going through this, are they opening, are they not, the whole thing, Once you come back, if it goes well, you'll continue. And if it doesn't go well, you'll shut it down. So the Ivy League and the Pac-12 are being smart. They're like, let's watch what everybody else does. And if it goes well and they're able to be successful, then maybe we'll add games. But if it doesn't go well, we're going to look back and say we were right all along. So I think they're in observational mode, which is fine.
That's what I think the next question comes to is, what can hoops learn from the college football cluster F that's existing currently as fall creeps closer? Can college hoops gain or garner anything from what college football has stumbled upon and maybe put that to their advantage come the winter season?
Yeah, they can. You can see what went on. You can see the positive stuff. The NFL is going to happen. It's going to happen, right, and they're going to get tested.
That's a great point. Thanks for bringing that up. Yes.
It's going to work, and there's a solution here, Gus. Like, we are not at the point we were 4 months ago. Okay, we're better. It's incremental and it's gradual, but we're better. And they will learn. We will have college basketball, and I'm still holding out hope that we'll have one big, huge March Madness tournament to kick it all off there. That'll be exciting.
Is it okay if it's April?
I don't care if it's I don't care if it's October, August Madness. Do it outside, Gus. How about that? Who cares? Wait until June. Do it outside. We'll watch. I don't know. I'm just saying. I want to see college basketball.
So if it's outside, we'll be there. That sounds fantastic. All right. So, Mike, I think one of the things that we need to pay attention to as college basketball is trying to put together what their season is going to look like, right? This is me spitballing here, but tell me what you think of my spitball. Why can't some of these top shelf tournaments morph into their own little bubble, someplace safe? Let's just take this year's Maui Jim Maui Fields. We got Alabama, Davidson, Indiana, UNC, Providence, Stanford, Texas, and UNLV in a bubble somewhere. Doesn't that sound fun, Mike? Doesn't it seem like that would work out? And maybe, along with playing like some of the consolation games, maybe they can sneak in one more game each, and that might be a situation. What do you feel about having some of these predetermined preseason tournaments turning into a bubble somewhere, even if it's not the location? Like, obviously people aren't going to go out to Hawaii, but maybe they can find a place where they can do these tournaments. What do you think about that, Mike?
I think it's great because everyone's going virtual anyway. So, Gus, if we're learning virtually, if all the student athletes are learning virtually, why the heck do they have to be on campus? So you could literally fly a whole team out there. They're doing virtual lessons anyway, so they just have to have internet access. And they quarantine for 2 weeks, and then they play the games, and they get tested every year. Why not? The NBA has been massively successful in Orlando. Yes. It's gone well. No one's getting COVID. A couple guys did early on, right? You had the whole thing with what's his name went to the Atlanta strip club. You had
Lou Williams.
Lou Williams at the strip club because of the wings, right? And then you had Westbrook got it before he got there. Zion left. He had a quarantine. Whatever. It works. So you can, if you're going virtual on a virtual platform, then they can go and play basketball. There's no issue. So I think it's going to happen 100%.
You know, it'd be really exciting if some of those, especially if some of the structures for these preseason tournaments like actually kept their structure and the teams that they were the matchups, and people could look forward to that, and the fan bases could look forward to that as well. I think that would be really productive. Mike, I hope you're right. I really, really do hope you're right. The NBA draft is locked up. We have the draft order. We have who's in, who's out. Let's take a look at who's in and who's out. One of the people that took advantage of the multiple deadlines that the NCAA and the NBA had in place was Isaiah Joe. He decided to back out, but then he decided to get back in. So my question to you is two-pronged. Is Isaiah Joe a first-round draft pick? And if he leaves, and when he does leave, is Arkansas a top 25 team minus Joe and Mason Jones?
Arkansas had a great recruiting class. They got Moses Moody, they got KK Robinson, Jalen Williams, Devontae Davis. Great job, Muss. But I'll tell you this, Gus.
There we go.
No Cup of Joe and no Mason Jones. That's an awful lot of scoring.
Tough, right?
Colin, my friend at Action, not happy whatsoever that Cup of Joe is gone again. Do I think he's a first round? He's probably a back end first round guy, right? It reeks of a 29-30, maybe? No, maybe not. Maybe not. But yeah,
35, maybe.
That hurts Arkansas. It hurts Arkansas in one of my favorite conferences in college basketball. You got Tennessee, you have Kentucky, and it's going to come down to coaching, Gus. So you know my thoughts on that. But listen, I think he's did a great job recruiting.
Right.
That hurts a little bit, only because he said he was coming back, which got us excited here, and then he's returning. I respect it. It's his call, but a little surprised that he changed his mind there. Figured he would stick with whatever he decided the first time.
Okay, so I guess the next place we'll go is, because we're talking a little NBA here, first place we'll go is nice. Isn't it nice? Isn't it nice to see guys that we followed so closely in college to find starting roles in the NBA playoffs, whether it be Juwan Morgan from Indiana for the Utah Jazz or Waylon Gabriel from Kentucky in Portland? Isn't that just really cool that guys that we thought weren't going to be first-round draft picks, and then they end up being playoff starters in the NBA? Isn't that just a nice marriage between the college game that we love and follow so closely and the NBA, a league that we just adore?
It's exciting for me to see players that we've known who've done well that I am then in big debate on starting in my FanDuel DFS NBA lineup.
Right.
Yes.
There you go.
So it's extremely excited. Obviously they protested the other day. We'll get to that probably a little bit, but, I was going to start Simons from Portland because he was going to start for Damian Lillard. But yes, Juwan Morgan has done a nice job as a big for them. He did not get many minutes early on. Then all of a sudden he came in and they trust him. They trust him because he does his role. He rebounds there. He stays out of the way. He'll play weak side with Gobert. Conley's come back. That's a dangerous team. And Wenyen Gabriel's done a nice job with Portland. He can get up and down. He's a big that can fill the lane, shoot a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. It's great to see some of these college basketball players sticking and getting roles, because we are so hypercritical, especially myself, on whether they should stay or go. But yeah, both those guys have done a nice job in the bubble. Nice job.
It's really cool to see those guys do a nice job in the bubble. And it's really cool to see guys that we maybe think like, oh, we're down on, or they're not like, NBA first round draft picks. And then boom, they end up being NBA starters in the playoffs. I think it's a beautiful justice for those players that put in 4 years, or about 4 years, in Wenyen Gabriel's situation. All right, Mike. Speaking of the bubble, I mean, we'll get to the important stuff later. But I think we have two, maybe three, like little bubble situations that we need to talk about, because we know now it's going to continue. I think we might need to take the over on every game that's inside the bubble, considering everybody's going to shoot it like they're shooting in the YMCA gym. Even good defense like the Bucks just seem to stink at this point. And the shooters are just shooting. I can't even imagine what Trae Young and Steph Curry would do inside the bubble if they had the opportunity to exist. They would just go bananas. I mean, Mike, what are your like NBA bubble, just slight observations before we get to like the critical stuff or the, social justice stuff?
Yeah, the over is hot. And I'll just give you an example here, guys. Let's start on Saturday, August 22nd. That's over, under. So that's 2-1. Then we'll turn and we'll go to Sunday. That's over. That's 3 overs, 3-0. Let's go to Monday. Over, under. That's 2-1. Let's go to Tuesday. Over. So folks, the overs are very hot. I think the reason, Gus, is because for defense, you have to rely on your home court, the let's go guys, the screaming, the yelling. You're in a neutral court. It's very hard to get that defensive intensity. So they're hitting the overs like crazy. Bucks defense started off slow. I have an issue with Coach Bud, who I know is a really great guy. Yep. Okay, I understand that. Coach Bud is doing something calculating here that I don't agree with. Bud is staying with the Bucks with the 5-man rotation. He's
Correct.
Rotating the 5 guys in and the 5 guys out.
Yep.
I get it. Maybe Giannis got tired. They blew the 2-0 lead to Toronto last year. I have no idea. But Bud, you didn't need to lose one to an Orlando team without Aaron Gordon. So I get it, and maybe they'll get through.
And Isaacs.
Right. Yes, of course. They're decimated.
Right.
But I will say this. In the next round for the Bucks, I don't think you can mess around like that. I don't think Bud is going to be able to play a Miami Heat team that is well coached by Spo, that has time now to prepare. You throw out that 5-man, 5-in, 5-out stuff, and Tyler Hero and Bam are going to rip them up. So I'm curious with some of the things that are going on. We're rooting for the Bucks. We're Bucks program here. I hope they play. It looks like they're going to. But one thing I did notice scheme-wise is the Heat are ready to go. Toronto's playing really well without Kawhi. Of course, we're waiting to see what's going to happen with Lowry if he's healthy. The Celtics look good even though there's no Hayward. And I'm waiting for the Bucks rotation to stop messing around here. Giannis got to hit 38 minutes, folks. This is the playoffs. If they want to win, this is what they have to do. It's no layup for them. They got to do that. It's just my opinion.
And just to, kind of reflect back upon one of the teams that you mentioned is the Raptors. And the Raptors play their starters big minutes. And I think this is where the second round of the playoffs, this is where Coach Bud really needs to maybe copycat that a little bit, or at least replicate that in a smidge and say hey, I'm going to play Giannis 38 minutes. I'm going to play Wes 38 minutes. I'm going to play Chris 38 minutes and not play, I don't want to, we don't want to disparage here. But,
I do. Go ahead. Yes.
No, I was going to say DJ Wilson,
right. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So maybe that's where that change happens, but also you want to dance with who brung you, but at the same point, if who brung you can't do the dance, then let's keep the people in that can move their feet and cha-cha with the best of them. And that's and the Bucks have those people, so let's hope Coach Bud does that.
Gus, here's the thing. In a game that Milwaukee absolutely needed, they ended up being Orlando. George Hill's got 23, Connaughton's got 21, Korver's got 19, Marvin Williams 13, DiVincenzo 12, Ilyasova's got enough. I mean, what I'm saying is he can't do that against the Heat and win. It's not going to happen.
Right.
He needs Middleton to get going.
Those all need to be 11 minutes.
Yes, and Middleton needs to get going, and he did. I think the last game he started getting hot, and I may have noticed that, Gus, because at halftime he didn't have a lot of FanDuel points, but he ended up getting there for 5X. But anyway.
He had 21 for you, didn't he?
No, he got there, Gus. But it was, I would say, it's about 8 minutes left to it, okay. But yeah, he got going.
All right. Well, I wanted to have a fun conversation with you before. All right, so Mike, I guess the other question is just viewing the overall bubble. We're going to leave the Bucks out of this. You and I have looked at the college game and the pro game and have married it for the past couple of years via the NBA draft. And we've gotten a number of things right, and we've gotten a number of things wrong. I'm willing to admit I got Donovan Mitchell wrong. I thought that he was not going to be as impactful as he was, and he has put up 57 points in a playoff game and has been more impactful after that. Do you want to admit what maybe we have gotten wrong on draft day?
I got Michael Porter Jr. completely wrong. The guy is an absolute offensive fire. Right. He's a fire maker. Here's the problem. He doesn't play a lick of defense. Now, I'm not going to come out here and say that I was criticizing his defense. No, I was not. Okay. So I'm not going to say I was criticizing whether he could be as explosive as I thought.
Right.
The comparison, guys, with these two, and Gus, you're too hard about Mitchell. It's very hard for us to project dominance in the NBA when they didn't dominate in college. Michael Porter Jr. had a cup of coffee, and Donovan Mitchell was not dominating at Louisville. But they have really stepped up. Mitchell's been great. I was wrong on Porter Jr. He has spring. He has bounce. He can pull up from anywhere. The problem is he cannot guard me. I could easily get to 8 or 9 points in a game to 11 with him. He's good. And because Malone is not playing him. He's not playing a guy who can drop 30, no problem. He's playing him 15 minutes. So that shows you how bad he is defensively. But you're right. I did not come out here and say, Michael Porter Jr. can't play defense. That's why he's not a good pick. No, I said, why are we picking him? And clearly the kid can score. I mean, he is lethal scorer.
He's gifted. He's going to keep doing great stuff. And you know what? Thankfully, they'll continue the playoffs, and we get to see the matchup that is Donovan Mitchell and Devontae Murray. I love watching both those guards do their thing and put up 50 against each other. That's insane. And Porter and and Jokic are almost like a sideshow in the best way. And the fact that they are also all-star level players inside the bubble. It's been fantastic. The NBA has done such a great job, and both those coaches have done an unbelievable job of putting those players in that position, especially on the Nuggets side. Malone has done an unbelievable job making sure that he trusted Jokic enough to be fit enough to come in and do his thing. And then, we don't have a ton of wings. Okay, Porter, you're in. Okay, boom, you're going to put up 37. Okay, that sounds fine. And again, both of us, I think, were wrong on him. I kind of liked him in college. I was a little off him in the draft, and I should have bought in earlier. And I was totally wrong on Donovan Mitchell. I mean, I think both. I'm just going to say I don't know why anybody picked him inside the lottery. And Utah, congratulations, you have an absolute gem. You have an all-star. You have one of the best players in the playoffs right now. So I'm enjoying watching both of them.
And that's the thing, like a kid like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, we saw flashes at Kentucky. Right. I mean, we saw him, he was a starter in a big time program that you could see.
We were both on him. Yeah, we were both.
You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't shock me. But Donovan Mitchell he was shooting, he just wasn't making shots. Right. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is now getting an opportunity and he's playing great. So there's a difference. Michael Porter Jr. we didn't see enough of, and the guys who saw him in high school were right. I mean, clearly, he didn't do enough in college in his 3 games to make you go, wow. But he was really great in high school and obviously has tremendous potential. But Donovan Mitchell had a chance to show it and did not, which is why I think you're too hard on yourself about Mitchell.
All right. So, not too hard. I think just honest. All right, Mike, we also, luckily had the 2020 NBA draft lottery results. I'll just read it down. You tell me what thing jumps out to you and what thing might be a difference maker moving forward for the NBA season, or maybe with some college player that you think might make an impact in that particular culture or program. We have Minnesota at number 1, Golden State at number 2, Charlotte number 3, Chicago number 4, Cleveland Cavs at number 5, Atlanta number 6, Detroit Pistons number 7, our New York Knicks at number 8. Number 9 is the Washington. We have 10 at Phoenix. 11 has San Antonio. 12 has Sacramento. 13 has New Orleans, which is interesting. And then 14 is Boston from Memphis. Is there anything that jumped off the page that when you heard and saw the draft lottery results, where you're like, oh man, I think this might be a perfect fit, or this might be a great place for this player?
Knicks made me laugh.
Right.
I don't think LaMelo is going to Golden State. I know people are talking about that. I think the foreign players are going to have a chance to shine. Avdia could go to the Knicks. There's no doubt about that.
He'll go for the Knicks. I'm telling you that right now.
I mean, that's my point, is him and Killian Hayes. Absolutely. We're doing the video on Hayes. Gus did a great job with him, just producing it. Right. And Avdia could be really good. I haven't seen enough of them. Devin Vassell intrigues me. I love Okoro, but I think he's going to drop a little bit.
Agreed.
I still love Precious Achiuwa. I think he could be really, really good.
He's going to be somewhere in those first 14 picks. I'm telling you right now.
Yep. And a question is Nesmith going to go early from Vanderbilt, even with the injury? I don't know. We both love Halliburton. We think he could be an absolute star.
Yes.
And the biggest one for me, I think Okongwu could go very high. I would not be shocked if Okongwu went first or second. Absolutely would not be. I think his floor is very safe, and I think his upside is huge. I think he could develop into a shooting forward. I absolutely think he can. He just hasn't had the chance. He reminds me of a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, where we've seen enough athleticism, but maybe he can grow even further and become a more dangerous offensive player. And of course, I want to see where Obi goes, of course.
Yeah. How about this for, you said Okongwu. How about, do you think there's some Bam Adebayo comparisons there?
Yeah, but better. I think he can shoot. I think he can step out.
Wait. You think he's better than Bam?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think Bam is a back-to-the-basket player. He can do a little bit, but Bam's not going to pull for 3. I think Okongwu can learn to pull from 3.
Wait. So you were like, I'm not talking in hyperbole here. You are breaking NBA 2020 draft lottery ground here by saying you think Okongwu can be better than Bam?
Yes, right now I would take Okongwu first.
Then he's going to go in the top 4, dude.
I would. I don't know if the NBA coaches will, and they know more than I do. What do I know? But I would take Okongwu first.
You know as much as anybody listening to this podcast.
Oh, I think Okongwu.
I think that means that the Golden State Warriors need to look at him at number 2.
You know how we talked about. Here's the thing. Vernon Carey we debate about, because the question, I don't see Vernon Carey stepping out and shooting threes. Whether Vernon Carey's success is going to be whether he, as a back to the basket big, can fit into an NBA system that does not value that type of player. That's the question. Okongwu has the skills, I think, to fit into the NBA big game right now.
Definitely.
He's super young and can develop. Absolutely. Yes. I take Okongwu first.
Say this again.
I would take him first over Edwards. I would, yes. And I'm not taking LaMelo Ball. I'm not.
So you think the Minnesota Timberwolves should think about taking Okongwu first overall?
I take him in a nanosecond. And remember, guys, I also said I take Durant over Oden, and people laughed me off the stage. I'm not saying always get it right. I'm
going to give you some props here. Which point guard do you think they should take in 2018?
Fox is greater than Ball. I mean, come on. We've been talking about that, but that one was frustrating to me because, again, I think bigs can learn to shoot because we don't know if they've shot enough to get good at it. I didn't see Lonzo Ball becoming a 20-point per game scorer because he can't shoot. Correct. And he's been shooting a lot. He's been a point guard. He's been shooting.
This is fascinating.
Okongwu doesn't shoot. How do you know Okongwu can't make threes? How do you know that? Maybe he can. Maybe he can. But
I love that. I love this conversation.
Lonzo is an ancillary point guard who's going to distribute to other players. I think Okongwu is a building block starting stretch 4. I do, my opinion.
I love this podcast.
I'm just telling you.
This is awesome. Okay, so I love that you have that there. I think the one player that I would say maybe we'll go earlier, like you're saying Okongwu's going to go earlier. I think Killian Hayes should maybe looked at a little bit earlier. And you know what I'm going to say? Because the slots for the teams have been awarded, I don't think it's crazy that the Golden State Warriors look really closely at Obi Toppin at number 2.
Could be.
And I think it's not crazy for them to look at Obi at number 2 because if they're going to play Steph, Clay, and Draymond as, their core 3, and they're going to look for somebody that can shoot threes, be a rim runner, get an offensive rebound, and then maybe, defend off the weak side as a blocker, Obi fits that perfectly. And also it fits into their timeline. One of the things that gets maybe unfairly gets put on older players from the college game is they're 22 as opposed to 19. Well, maybe the Golden State Warriors at 2 want a 22-year-old because the rest of their core is at a place where they want to win a championship. So they want a more mature player. So maybe they'll take a closer look at a more mature player like an Obi Toppin, who's going to be 22 on draft time, who's had success and been the National Player of the Year and can do a number of things that will complement the players they already have on the roster. So that's the thing I was looking at when I saw Golden State was going to be awarded number 2 pick. Maybe they take a closer look at Obi Toppin to stretch the floor for those guys and maybe be an awesome offensive rebounder. And maybe be a defender on the backside. Maybe not like their primary rim defender, but maybe somebody that can be, impactful when Clay or Steph or Draymond gets beat off the dribble and Obi can come over and block them from the weak side.
I totally agree. I think there's a lot of variation there, and if you were going to look at it and try to predict it, I would not go chalk. I would look at what every site is doing and do something a little different.
I'm with you, and I think Okongwu going 1 and Obi going 2 and Killian Hayes going 3. I don't think that's totally outrageous and bananas. All right, Mike. So I think the last place that we'll go to on this particular podcast is one of our favorite commercials, and we'll date ourselves here, and we're happy to do that in this particular situation. Is one of your favorite pro players of all time is Charles Barkley, and one of my favorite sneakers that we played in were the Nike Revolutions, and the Nike Revolution commercial was Barkley saying that he wasn't a role model. He didn't get paid to raise our children. Has something shifted? Has something gone different? Has something changed from that time of that commercial to now, where Charles is now sitting next to Kenny Smith that's going to walk off his set that he shares with Kenny Smith because he is so in lockstep with the players in the Milwaukee Bucks walking off of the court, not choosing to play a game and postponing it, boycotting it, whatever terminology you want to put on it. Where our players, I guess my question to you, Mike, is that commercial outdated? And are players now really the role model that we need to follow, and maybe not the role model that Charles tried to distance himself from in that particular Nike commercial? And maybe now LeBron, Giannis, George Hill are those role models that we do need to follow. So where are you with where the NBA decided, and especially the Milwaukee Bucks decided, we're going to not play this game for social change?
What I thought was interesting is if you go back, I read a story today that Craig Hodges pushed Magic and Michael Jordan back in 1991 because the finals was going on when the Rodney King situation happened.
Great point.
And he approached them and asked them to protest and not play the game, and they decided that wasn't the right thing to do. I am not here to say what's right or wrong. I'm not doing that. What I'm saying is the times have changed. And I think if that game occurred now, there is a chance that they may have protested as well. It is critical, regardless of where you fall politically, wherever. We need to come together as a country. We need to come up with a standard set of rules and guidelines for being a human being and being civically minded. We need to realize that all people need to be treated fairly, that we need to get rid of all racism in all facets in every part of our life, and that we also need to realize that there are many police officers out there who risk their lives every single day for the safety of the country. And those two things they can come together as one, but we need to be united together as a country across all races, all religions, all sexual orientations. And I just thought it was interesting to note that came up then, but this time there was a statement made. And I think unity and bringing everyone together to the table to come together and come up with some unified procedures for police officers, for people who resist police officers, etc. That needs to happen. So I think it's bigger than ever. And I think that a lot of times Michael Jordan, a lot of other of our famous athletes get unfairly criticized for not making statements. At the time, statements were not being made for whatever reason, but now they are, and we need to follow the leadership of our athletes who are actually taking the time, interest, and care to make those statements.
And if we pay close attention to what's happening in the NBA currently, Michael Jordan is the only African-American black minority owner of a NBA team, and he was one of the go-betweens between the owners and Chris Paul and the Players Association, and supported what the players were thinking of, and supported what the players were attempting to do, and supported what Chris Paul and his organization was trying to do. And I think, Mike, exactly what you referenced so many years ago with the Rodney King situation in LA and Chicago being in the finals, and Craig Hodges bringing that up to the two major superstars inside the sport, and them realizing, yes, this is important, but also we're at a different point. It's nice. It's comforting. It's interesting that the NBA players are at a point now, because of the work that Jordan, Bird, Magic, McHale, Olajuwon did back in the day. We can go even deeper. So they can rely on the paychecks that they have and the status that they have as NBA players, as social important figures, Jaylen Brown, Doc Rivers, Chris Paul, that they are now respected in that regard, where maybe they weren't respected in that regard back when Craig Hodges asked Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan to do that very thing. Magic and Michael probably knew we don't have the same clout, and that's why Michael went in to that meeting and was the theme talker to the Players Association, this week, and saying, we support you, here's why we support you. Because he lived through it before. And if we go back, and this is the sad thing, Mike, this is the thing that makes me a little sad, but also makes me a little hopeful. We're talking 60 years ago, in 1961, where arguably the greatest basketball player of all time, Celtics multi-champion, protested a game, and his teammates protested a game where they could not get access to a certain restaurant and a certain hotel for the Celtics. And they protested an exhibition game in 1961. And that was the last boycott that existed inside the NBA. So the fact that we're looking at 60 years and the same thing happening, and the same wrongs happening and the same similar injustices taking place and players having to take the front of it. I don't know. I hope that at this point, 60 years later, something changes where maybe the Bucks made a difference here, and maybe the Bucks use their time to go talk to the governor of Milwaukee and the general attorney of Milwaukee and saying, like, we're not playing because we want to take the time to do and make change here. Hopefully the change takes place, and hopefully that's the right start of the conversation. And even if it just starts the conversation and doesn't change it immediately, it's positive as far as I can see. But the fact that it took 60 years, and you mentioned 25 years ago with Magic and Michael, it just seems like the longevity that has taken place here is not fair. It's just not fair, and now is the time. Now is the time for something to take hold, take ground, and make a difference. That's all I got.
Yeah, and I'm glad they're playing too, because I think it's going to be better for them to come back and play and continue expressing, the message.
Yeah, and I think if Mike, I'm with you. I think the longer that they play, the longer the 7-game series go, the longer that the star players and the coaches decide to speak on this in post-game conferences, as opposed to like, why did you not guard Mike Conley on the pick and roll? Like, as long as everybody keeps the talking points it pointed in the right direction, I think it's going to make a gigantic difference. And I think because they know the NBA playoffs is the biggest sports stage at this particular moment, and they have the biggest stars. Like, let's just call it what it is. Like LeBron, Giannis, AD, the Beard, Russell Westbrook, Jaylen Brown, thank goodness. They are bigger stars than anybody that's going to be in Major League Baseball or Major League Soccer or anything else. They are the biggest voices that are changing this conversation. So the fact that they get to talk after every single game, I think that is going to be the repetitiveness of that is going to be really impactful.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right, listeners, thank you. We aimed on this being a kind of a short podcast, and Mike and I had actually attempted to say, like, hey, let's try to package a couple shorter podcasts for the listeners out there. But we felt like this might have been something important to talk about. We hope that you talk about it with your families, just like I've talked about with my families. My 2 daughters, one is the baller, one is the social activist. When we turned on NBA basketball the other night, the one daughter asked, why aren't they playing? The other daughter asked, I know why they're not playing. How come? And it was a really unbelievable parental moment for me. And I hope that Mike and I hope that you guys out there, and girls and moms and dads and parents and cousins and uncles and aunts, we hope that you guys have similar conversations with your families about what can be righted and what we can do in our small days that can help, solve the puzzle, for lack of a better term. And it's been a really meaningful conversation for me at home personally. Mike, I don't know about you, but I know that my baller daughter just kind of didn't understand why we weren't playing, and my older daughter understood why we weren't playing, and it was an unbelievable conversation between the three of us about why things weren't taking place on the court. And it was so I hope that the listeners out there, I hope that you're doing the exact same thing with your families, whether it be your direct families or your families that you share time with. That's all we can hope for.
I think it's important to have these conversations with your kids and their parents. You are the first role model for your kids, so nobody's more important than you. And if they ask a question, you're the first one who should sit down and talk to them.
Yeah. So hopefully, listeners, we help you answer a couple of those questions about why things are the way they are, and maybe you'll be a little bit more informed. Maybe just not on what Mike and I think about the NBA draft, but also about why they're playing basketball or why they're not playing basketball. So thank you for listening in. We totally appreciate it. And obviously, by the tones of our voices, you can hear that it's really close to our hearts, and we both thought about it and have discussed it with our own families ourselves. Listeners, thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening in. We hope that we're helping you keep you company on maybe a mundane day that is a little bit boring, and we're giving you a little bit something to think about and something to talk about with your family. That's all we can hope for, and we'll talk to you before you know it. And we can't wait to talk some more college basketball and maybe some more NBA lottery and draft situation with everybody, and we'll hopefully get on a couple good guests. What do you think, Mike?
Sounds good, man. I can't wait.
All right, cool. Listeners, thank you. Salancha, Gratulatia. Everybody, please stay safe and do what you can. And good luck with the start of school, everybody. We're rooting for everybody to have a successful start of school out there. Cheers.